Hello there, it's me, Sari, here again, and today I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about the mixed media plates from Nellie Snellen. It's a thinner version of a jelly plate that is mostly made for, let's say, art journaling and such. I'm thinking that the thinner mixed media plates from Nellie Snellen are perfect for card makers. And they come in different sizes. This one has been an A5 sized one, but I was actually able to cut out this one as well as heart. I made a custom made heart that I can do some mixed media stamping with. And how I did that was I just put this heart stencil or die on the plastic. I drew around it and inside of it and then cut in between the lines. And that made it possible for me to just cut this, and I had to use my scissors. I couldn't use my Big Shot or anything to that. And then that is something that I can use for making sort of a collage stamped distress heart and certain things. Here is something that I succeeded a little bit better with, where I used several stamps around it, and it's a nice thing to actually use stamps of various sizes, and some of them could be, let's say, not solid, whilst other ones can be solid. So that sort of creates an interest to the card itself. I've also used embossing folders and I haven't used that many stencils, but I'm sure you I can make them work as well. And you could also go for some bubble wrap or something else with a texture that you can pick up some color with. And here I have used a round one, and I have used a brick wall embossing folder to pick out some of the inks. And depending on which side of the embossing folder you're using, you can get either the lines or you can get the background. Here is a leftover ink from something, and it's a second print. And if you're looking for that soft muted version, you could actually go for that. Here is a nice swirly circle. Here is something with a leftover ink. Here is something that is two colored. You can actually have lots of fun with those embossing folders. Here is something that I made with a sort of mirror stamping technique, and to that I used both this one and another stamp press, so I wouldn't glide and slide as much, because two slippery surfaces together are going to be really slippery. And you can see that you can get a sort of a mirror image there. It's not going to be as sharp, but it's going to be perfect if you are looking for some silhouette stamping, or let's say shadow stamping. You could definitely go for some two-colored imprints here. And here's the first imprint of the heart that I made, and the line actually went along on the right. And here is something that I have used, a nice embossing folder, I believe, or was it a stencil perhaps. So let's see where I'll end up on this journey, because it's not always going to be a success when I do something. So my hope is anyway to be able to show you quite a few techniques so you can get yourself acquainted with the mixed media plate from Nellie Snellen. Most of these things you can find at Scrapbruket or other stores, of course. So let's see, let's start with the circular one. That is the shape that I really went for when I saw Anna-Lena from Engström's work with it. So let's see, I'm just going to go for some ink here. I found that using the versifying inks really worked well. So I'm just going to ink it up like that. As you can see, it's going to cover it rather well. And in this case, you can think that, well, I might actually get, let's say, 3 imprints from this one. The second and the third, of course, lighter and more muted. In this case, I'm just going to go for an embossing folder with some dots. I do have a raised side, and I do have a sort of debossed side with the background, or looking more like a punchinella cutout. So let's see if I could do that. I'm just going to put it on top, keeping it in place, giving it some soft pressure, making sure I can pick up the color from all of the shape itself. And now you can see that it has transferred to this embossing folder. I could, of course, try to make use of that ink, put it there. I'm just going to give it a rub. And you know what? That one is just sitting there. this is going to be a really useful tool for you. There you can see it's going to be a little bit different because perhaps I shifted a little bit when I started using the brayer. But you can see it's a rather nice looking imprint. Let's see if I can make a second one. It doesn't go that far, so it's going to give me one good leftover ink print. And now I have to think about the fact that I'm going to get at least 2 or 3 of this one. I'm just going to put it here, trying to center it. Put it there and lift it off. And it's a really nice and well covered print there. Let's see what the second one says. Here you have something more muted. So that might suit you in a different kind of a card. Let's see if I can get a third one with this one. I can get an even more muted one. Let's see if I could do that again. And I'm thinking perhaps I ought to go for a different color just to have some fun. I'm not going to wipe it off actually. I don't want the red one to transfer to the toffee colored ink pad. This one says coffee, and I'm going to do a little bit of inking here. Let's say I were to be bold enough to combine that with some Spanish moss. I'm just going to put it here and there, and I'm going to use the brayer to sort of pick up some ink, because now you can see that a lot of the ink has transferred to the roller there. So what you could do is either try to make an imprint with it, thinking that okay, it's going to start there and I'm going to roll it like that, but it's really about precision, you know, isn't it? Or you could just clean it off like that. It's just ink. You could of course use this as well, because I have done quite a bit of stamping now, so I'm thinking it's a muddled up collage of colors here. Seems to be something sticking there. Right, let's get rid of that one. So that one goes back here, and I do have the leftover ink. I haven't forgotten about that. Now there's a lot of ink there, but with this stamp press I do not fear of that getting onto the paper. At least I shouldn't have to fear. Let's see. I think I forgot what I was supposed to do. I did. This is what it looks like. Never mind you that. Let's start all over. I was thinking of something. What was it? I lost my train of thought. Isn't that a beautiful expression? My train of thought. Let's see. Let's move back. And I didn't like the toffee color that much. So what if I were to try using some sweet plum memento ink instead? Memento ink comes in dewdrop shaped inks as well as these big ink pads. So what am I going to do now? Well, I do want to lift up some color, and I'm going to go for the second side, just you can see the difference. And we can also see how well or badly memento ink works in comparison to VersaFine. You can see it's rather wet there, isn't it? So just going to put it there, and remember from the last time that I can actually use my brayer, making sure it's going to stay in its place. Lift it up and it's going to be like that, and that is the negative, so that isn't going to be the perfect side now, is it? So let's move ahead, because I do have something here. So let's see if I can remember to do something with the third step then. Just going to press it like that. And now that I know that I do have a little bit of ink left here, what if I were to put a stencil on top? Let's see what would happen if I were to do something like that. I'm not sure if it's going to work at all. So perhaps I can change things, the look of things, by introducing another pattern. Well, I could actually do that. It's rather fun. And if I would like to, of course, whilst there is a little bit of ink left here, or just a newly inked bit, you could actually do a bit of stamping on that surface as well, the round one. But you really ought to have something steady to stamp with. Let's see if I could do that. Let's see, I'm just going to put in some ink, and I'm going to go for some Lilac Poisies Memento ink this time. Let's see how it works. I think I'll just repeat myself, although I'm just going to use the stencil this time. Put it there and try to keep it in place. It's a little bit slippery, I must tell you, and as I know now, there is a little bit of ink here. Just want to lift it up and roll it off. So that wasn't the main feature, because this is the one, and I'm going to do it in 2 steps. I do have an idea, you see. Let's see if I can make it work. Just going to get off the excess ink. It's going to be rather heavy, but I did have an idea. So I'm going to place a butterfly a little bit on the askew like that, on a big stamp press. And I'm going to place this one. And I do need some ink for that as well. Mustn't be too stupid now, must I? So what colour should I go for? I do have something pink there. I think I'll just try. I don't fancy a green butterfly. I do want a blue butterfly. So I'm going to go for some Bahama blue ink from Memento. Let's see how it's going to work. I'm not sure if it's going to work at all. It's just something I'm trying out. So there's some residue ink here now. And since this is a circular shape, I can actually just turn it so it can fit into the openings in this. And why I'm using this method is that I don't want it to slip and slide too much. I think this is the easiest way. I was thinking that I might be able to make it work with the Misty, but I'm not sure. So now I have that one there. And now I have to do the inking with this one, with the circular one. And the benefit of this method, of course, is that if I do have an image that I don't want to go outside the circle, then I can decide that by stamping it on top of this circle. Because what I'm going to end up with is this. Of course, now I can see that it would have been nice to have it on the outside, but still I wanted to show you this method. That if you have something else, perhaps not a butterfly that you want to put here, you could do this, and you can limit how big it's going to be or when it's going to end up and such. So this is a method. Let's see if I have any leftover ink here, just to see what kind of a difference it's going to be. I'm going to put it there. And there was still some ink for that one. Nice. And let's see if I can make it go even a 3rd time. Well, I couldn't. So that's where it ended, really. And if one wants to, one could of course go in with some ink and perhaps stamp a statement of some sort. And I'm just going to put in the center because I'm thinking that the black one is going to go over all of the colors. This isn't my favorite thing, but I just wanted to show you the technique of this. So let's move ahead and go for the heart-shaped one. I'm just going to clean this one off. Or clean it up. And I was looking for that one, the backing, because I think it's important to have the backing on top. Otherwise you'll get some lint and all sorts of things on sticking to that. So now I have made myself a template or a mask, and then I do have the backing there. So now I have the specially designed mixed media plate, just for my own benefit really. So let's see if I could go for another sort of ink. I've tried the Memento and the VersaFine. Let's go for some cracked pistachio, and I do fancy spiced marmalade. But you know what? I'm just going to go with 2 colors. Let's see what I'll end up. Orange and blue. Broken china. So it's a spiced marmalade and broken china. And now I just have to guess my way in here. Because I don't want that orange to contaminate the ink. I can just swipe it off like that. So now I have a 2 coloured heart. And what I would do now, preferably, is to pick up some of that. And let's see which one I like the best. Well, I think I'll just go for the... I think I'll pick up the dots. The dots. And I'll do my negative print here, or positive. This might be the one that you're looking for. And there we have it. Really fantastic, I must say. And now I have the main piece here. And I'm just going to put it in the center, sort of. Give it a press. And you know what, I could just go for another one, just to see how far it stretches. There it is. Can I get a third one? There's a third one there. So, depending on how much I want the heart colour to pop up, I might go for this one, or perhaps even this one. I'm thinking I'll go for the centerpiece there, and I'm going to put this one there. I have used some remount spray on this, on the back side, so it can get a temporary adhesive there. So I'm going to place the heart there as best as I can. This heart isn't exactly the shape of this one. It's sort of in the shape of that one, but there's a little bit of a gloria or halo around it. Well, I'll do my best when it comes to stamping here anyway. So what can I do to stamp? You know what, I just came to think of one thing. I'm going to give you something else. I'm so sorry for the delay, but I'm hoping it'll be worth it. You know, I have really rediscovered the funness of stencils. And Tim Holtz has stencils in 2 sizes. It's the same patterns, and you can the small ones come in a pack of 3, and there are different ones in them, and then the big ones come separately. And what I have discovered of late is that it's really fun to use a brush and just to swipe in some ink. So I'm going to continue with the inks. I did have some orange and blue there now, didn't I? So I'm thinking perhaps pink could do. So let's see, this wasn't at all what I was intending to do. But I'm just going to take my brush that I have coloured with some, or just marked or labelled with some pink. And I'm just going to put the stencil on top. And I'm going to work in something. This could be compared to stamping, because I'm just adding in some sort of a pattern here now, aren't I? So this is what it looks like right now. I'm just going to work my way through this. Perhaps I won't be as talkative as I am right now, but it's really fun to just use these different kinds of stencils and just to see what happens when you are working them in like that with a paintbrush. With a bright paintbrush, mind you. And let's see, so now I've come that far. I do like these narrow numbers, so I'm thinking that perhaps I could go for some red, because I think it's a nice thing to just stay in the color scheme that you have going on here. So I'm going to pick up some red, and I'm just going to make sure that I'm getting something there. I can just pounce the ink pad, and I'm working with a dry paintbrush, and now you can get it like that. And I'm just going to get in something just a little bit there. The A letter will be perfect there, A, B, there. I'm just going to work myself through the pile of stencils here. I do have a beautiful set of roses or flowers. I do believe these are roses. So I'm thinking perhaps I could put that one there. one problem, of course, is that there's an ending to this, and it's going to be sort of straight, and I don't like that. But I sort of managed to get the heart to be as I wanted. So if I'm going to have some orange and blue and pink and red, would I dare to go in with some green? I think I do. So I'm going to go for some cracked pistachio. And I do like this dot fade stencil. It's a real beauty. And there you can see it. It's just a little bit hint of green there. The holes are so small, so it's not going to take over. So now you can see more. And it's good to have the same color in two places. In that way the eye doesn't get too muddled up, or it does have a direction to go for. So if I'm going to go for some green here, I'm thinking of using this big one. I could go for the peel paint. I'm using the same one because it's in the green family, so to speak, color family. I do have some green there and there. I do dare to say that I would like to have it here somehow. And the beauty of these Distress Oxide inks is that they can actually layer upon each other. They are not going to be muddled up, and that is a good thing. So I'm going to put something down here. And you see, I'm not going to be precise about anything. I'm just going to work it in there, aren't I? Just thinking about what kind of pattern it could be nice to have there. So I do have my pinks and everything. Should I go for some red again? It's always nice to remember which brush you are using, because sometimes you might end up somewhere that you didn't want to. Of course you might end up in a good place anyway, because you learn something new now, don't you? Colors combine and they mix together well. These distress inks, they do. There's some red, red, red. So I'm thinking 3 is good enough. And there are some small numbers. It's always nice to have some numbers. So what color should I bring into this party now? I do have some blue and orange, and if I'm a little bit, there's a blue there and there's orange there. Of course it could have been fun to just have the one color on the heart, but since I am the way I am, things go the way they go. So I'm just going to go for some brown. Let's see where I'll end up with that. The numbers are nice, and I'm thinking that I'll actually just put it there. And I'm going to go for another number. I'm going to go for the number 2 there, and it's going to be a little bit on the slanty side there. And let's see, I do like that one, but I'm thinking it's going to be too much, because when you have stencils with large opening, it's going to sort of take over. So I'm really interested in getting the other way around, some narrow openings in this. And the harlequin is alright, but I think I'll just end things up with this one. I do have some brown there now. Perhaps I should go in with some fossilized amber, something sort of yellow. And you can just see how wild and crazy this is going to be. So I'm just going to put it there. And I'm going to put it there. And you know what, I just came to think about something. I'm just going to give you something else too. The Distress Oxide inks are perfect. I mean, I just love them. They go really well on black paper, or let's say craft paper, something dark. You can see that I have used some red here. It has turned pink, but it is red. And the broken china has actually remained sort of broken china-ish. And I've just brushed the ink through a stencil, and then I've also dragged the ink all on top of the stencil and then brushed in some more, so I could get some more highlights and darker bits with that ink. Then I did go really wild and crazy with this one. I used lots of those wonderful colors stencils and some stamping on top of that as well. So this is a preview, mind you. I'm not going to blog this for a while. And this is something that I made last night. I started out using the sort of pale blue and green colours, but then I just went mad, as I always do, and I ended up with some pink and orange here and there. And I also did use that girl and put some diamond stickles on her dress and a hat. So this is something that I'm thinking that I might actually be able to get to today. So let's see, now I would actually like to have a little bit of a stamping here as well. Let's see if I can get some stamps. I might not stamp it all, but I think I'll just do a little bit of stamping with a couple of cogwheels or something, just to break things up. So I do need an empty like that, and just to make things pop properly, I'm going to go for some black ink, and I'm going to choose places where there's empty rooms or empty spaces. Perhaps I'll just do the whole thing. Let's see. And I'm just going to put it on the other side, and I want to make sure that I'm getting as close to the stencil or the mask as possible, because I don't want to have to redo this afterwards. You know what? I'm thinking, let's say I want to just press it off once, because then I can have that cogwheel in the background. That is the trick, really, to create some depth. That you don't stamp everything in the same hue. You do a little bit of hue stamping. This is a beautiful stamp, I must say. These come from Crafter's Companion. I'm just going to stamp it there. Just look at that, my goodness. It's a beauty. And I could actually put it there. And do I have anything else I could go for? There's a big one, but I don't have to put all of it. And with this one I'm just going to stamp it off so I get a lighter shade. And I'm going to put it there, wildly, boldly. One mustn't be afraid. And I'm actually going to go for a third one, just because I see that there's a little bit of uninked space there. Right, let's see. Can this be anything to brag about? You know what? I'm thinking one more thing before I'm going to release you. In this case, I do know that it might be a sort of a... It was too narrow. I do want something of a line there. Let's see if I can find this micron pen. It's 02. It's rather thin now, isn't it? But I'm just going to use... This is bone dry almost. Just going to trace it like this. And it doesn't matter if I'm a little bit sloppy. If I by accident were to go outside, because that would really sort of enhance the madness behind this. It's too dry, I think, and I do need another pen. What could I go for? Should I go for some brown? No, I shouldn't. I could try making it with some blue. Let's see. Let's try something new, shall we? Just to tie it up a little. And of course it would have been better to have it in black, because then it would have been sort of cohesive with the black stamped images. So, do I dare to unveil this? Here we have it. It might not be perfect. The heart is not in a straight up position, but I'm thinking that you get the idea of what I'm trying to show you, and then you could have a die cut word let's say out of funky foam or something, just to brighten this one up. So this is a couple of techniques in one. So I do hope I have made you interested in these mixed media plates, as well as using them with stencils and embossing folders. Not to forget about the embossing folders, and not to forget about using inks through stencils onto paper. It's really funny. It's so much fun. So I'm going to sign off right now before I go even madder. Bye bye.